Hey guys, what's up? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another MLB DFS Slurve video here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. We're talking main slate, DFS, MLB, baseball, DFS for tonight, main slate. You have 11 total games available tonight on a Tuesday night, a larger slate compared to last. And it's sad news, we only have about another week or so left of baseball, MLB DFS season, or regular season DFS, I should say. Playoffs start in October, so I think most teams have about 5 or 6 available games left for the season. Some vary depending on doubleheaders and trying to play catch up with everything, but in general, you guys have about another week left of true DFS MLB. So a little disappointing there, but hey, let's keep the wagon rolling. We've been on absolute fire all season long. The shortened season has been excellent for us from the channel's perspective in terms of DFS, the picks, everything. So let's keep it rolling into the playoffs here. In terms of playoff DFS, I'm not really into that. I think it gets very difficult. There's a lot of, it's just not my thing. So early on, we have a ton of teams, more so than normal, playing playoff baseball. Probably we'll do a video or two early into that playoff atmosphere or that playoff schedule, but in general, as it goes on, probably won't play too much DFS baseball, just to be honest with you guys. But in general, thank you for coming back here. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Thank you for this season, really. It's been an excellent season, as I mentioned. Hey, if this is your first time here, if you follow me daily, weekly, whatever you do, make sure you smash all those buttons at the bottom there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. Again, I'm very thankful for you guys being here. I'm thankful for all of you that hung with me through the season or from past seasons even. It's been absolutely awesome, but please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you like NFL, we're really hot right now in NFL. We're rolling into this season, into week 3 of NFL. The video's up. Please go check that out on the channel. Came out earlier today for a sneak peek into week 3 of the NFL season. But we're talking baseball today, so let's jump back into it. I want to start, as always, with the lineup optimizer here at Daily Fantasy Nerd. If you guys are into optimizers, if you like to play multiple lineups, if you like to track bankroll, generally, if you want to become a better DFS player, and I'm talking both baseball and NFL, Daily Fantasy Nerd is worth a check out. I've linked it down in the description. I talk about it all the time. I use it in these videos. You can see from a baseball perspective just how much information you have consolidated in one source here, whether it's lines, weather, players, projections, Vegas, K totals for pitchers, winning percentages, runs scored. You can stack hitters. You can do literally everything through this optimizer, and the same applies for football. So please make sure you check it out. I know some of you have. I hope you're enjoying it. You get a free month if you go ahead and follow that link down below. So again, Daily Fantasy Nerd, one of my favorites, if not my favorite optimizer of all time for all sports. So sticking with it here though, let's talk baseball. What's the outlook for tonight? As you can see, not really any weather concerns at all. Temperatures are dropping. We're later in the season. That does favor pitching a little bit. Some of your warmer games, and Detroit at Minnesota, you're talking 80 degrees. That's about as warm as it gets. Arizona's 99, but of course you're indoors. I don't know if that is a closed roof or open roof. I have not checked that as of yet. You guys can simply Google it. You'll find out. Open roof is better for bats, closed roof not so much, but in general, no weather concerns for tonight. Some wind blowing in and out various games, but it does look like a clear night in terms of weather, so that's a good thing here. All 11 games are in play. Now, if we want to talk Vegas totals, important to always look at this before we jump into the slate. Several teams, 6 to be exact, above 5 in terms of an implied run team total. Those are teams you want to target for stacks, at least initially. So you have San Diego, the Dodgers, Minnesota, Houston, Arizona, and then to top them all, Atlanta. Number 1 on the slate at 5.35 runs. All those teams mentioned above 5 though, so something to consider. On the flip side, in terms of selecting your pitchers for the night, especially on FanDuel, where winning is a premium, there's a ton of teams below 4 implied run team totals. Again, that's what we want to target when we want to focus on which pitchers we want to start in our lineups. You can see here you have 7 total teams, starting at LA at 3.96. That's the Angels. You have Oakland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Seattle, New York Mets, and Colorado, all below 4. So again, consider those teams when picking your pitchers, and then consider those above 5 for a run team total for your stacks. But let's bump back here. Let's start, as we always do, with the pitching position. But first, let's navigate into the slate here. We're going to play, obviously, the 7:05 main slate. Doesn't matter which which contest we select. We just need to open up FanDuel here. As I mentioned, in terms of pitching, it's looking like a narrow night. It's been narrow the last couple of nights. Some guys on this schedule, though, like I didn't realize, I have not seen Blake Snell on a main slate in quite some time. I don't know if you guys know this or want to check it out. Has he pitched only day games or something? I primarily play only the 7:05 main slates, or whatever the time the main slate starts. So I haven't seen him. I thought he was injured, but he has. I mean, if you click into him, this guy's a good pitcher, by the way. He's pitched. I mean, he has pitched every pretty much 5th or 6th day for the last month or so. I just haven't seen him, so something interesting there. He's not a guy, though, I'm considering tonight. But if we do want to talk pitchers, at the top here, Zach Davies. He's $10,100 up against pitching at home against the Angels here. Something to consider. I'm not really interested in him. I'm actually going to bump down here to the lefty in Framber Valdez. This guy is $10,000 pitching on the road for Houston in Seattle. The matchup is key here, an elite matchup. This guy, though, has pitched primarily elite over the last few weeks. You can see we started him against Texas. Texas, a great matchup for left-handed pitchers in terms of strikeout totals, all that stuff. 59 points, had 11 Ks. This guy has a ton of K upside. If we bounce back over to the optimizer here, again, guys, check this out. This is how you put together winning lineups. But he is the highest projected point-scoring pitcher on the slate at 37, just ahead of Blake Snell here. But more importantly, he's projected 6.5 Ks on the night, has a significant percentage win total here, meaning they're heavy favorites. Houston, of course, a better team than Seattle. Heavy favorites even on the road is a good thing, so that kind of alleviates any risk of taking an away pitcher. But Seattle in general is more of a pitcher's park than a hitter's park, so again, still good news there from that front. As I mentioned, 6.5 Ks projected for them tonight for Valdez. 3.74 is the projected run total for Seattle. So a super low total. We want to stay below 4. That's what we're getting here. He has a 22.8% K rate. I challenge you to look into that, though. As I mentioned, if you open up this guy's stats, his log here, 2 games already since basically late August where he has 11 or double-digit Ks. So again, this guy has a much higher K percentage than what is suggested in the stats. He's coming around. He's a young pitcher. He has an 8K game. He has a couple in here where he got beat up. I mean, I'm not going to lie. 2 Ks here, 8 earned runs. But for the most part, when the matchup is there, he has excelled, including an earlier game against Seattle. Put up 40 FanDuel points. Only was allowed 95 pitches. He's now in the hundreds, so we'd like to see that. Gave up 1 earned, 6 innings, 5 strikeouts. So I think you realistically can expect 6 or 7 Ks out of this guy as predicted here. 6 or 7 innings, quality start. All the boxes are checked for this guy outside of pitching on the road. That is the only bummer here, but I still like him. More importantly, as I mentioned, the matchup here is absolutely excellent. If we go to the split leaderboards here versus, so we're navigating over to Fangraphs here, versus left-handers, if we sort for the season 2020, you got to come way down the list here. Seattle is 28th with a 74 WRC+. They have a 274, really low WOBA, and only a 145 ISO, so they're not hitting guys very well. They're not seeing them well, and they have no power versus lefties. So the matchup is absolutely elite for this guy. Really, really like the spot he's in. He's definitely by far my favorite pitcher. If I play multiple pitchers, say it's 5 lineups, I'd go for him and 1 other. The only other guy I'm really considering coming down the list here, I think you can save some money and be in a decently, relatively safe spot with Kayla Smith. The downside, well, let's start with him. So he's pitching obviously for the Arizona Diamondbacks, pitching at home. Hopefully the roof is closed. If so, that helps him out a little bit. I think it should be. It's pretty hot there. But pitching against the Texas Rangers here, I just talked about how Valdez, as a lefty, destroyed them in his last start. Texas is a team that strikes out a bunch versus lefties. Caleb Smith, a lefty here. Good spot for him. Numbers overall don't look great, but he has not pitched much this season, only pitched a couple of games. This is the bummer. You're going to have to live with this, but again, at $6,900, this is a spot that I'm willing to go to because of the value. This guy, if we bounce again back over to Daily Fantasy Nerd here, he's one of the best values in terms of pitching. $6,900, I've talked about it a couple times already. In a good spot, pitching at home versus Texas. Decent home favorite, again, gets you that potential for a win. The downside, as I mentioned, has not pitched much. Now, he touched 70 pitches back in, what would that be? July there, missed most of August, is now back going into his third start. I think realistically you can expect 70 to 80 pitches. If that's something you're willing to take the risk on, versus a very bad Texas team, I just don't know if you're going to be in line for a quality start. I really don't think you're going to be in line for that, and I'm almost talking myself out of this already. I don't think you're in line for the W. That's at risk too. But we could see. Maybe he goes 70, maybe he goes 80 innings and is able to squeeze out 5 or 6 innings. That would be ideal. Again, at that price, you're not paying much. He has pitched well in the few innings he's pitched, but more importantly, as I mentioned, it's an elite spot here. If you go back to versus lefties, sort this by teams, we're going to have to come way down the list. Last overall, 68 WRC plus, 284 and 146 ISO. Again, Texas just bottom of all of baseball versus lefties. They're just not hitting them very well at all. More importantly, they are top 5 versus in terms of strikeouts versus lefties at 26+%. So a good spot. This kid, Kayla Smith, could get 5 Ks, 6 Ks in 5 innings. That's really the upside of what you're hoping for. The upside is capped because of his pitch limit, but something to consider if you need the salary relief. That's about the only spot I would go to. Now, again, I talked about Seattle and taking Valdez. I love Valdez. I just was trying to give you guys options here. 27% K rate, number 3 in all of baseball versus lefties. So just to quickly recap, Caleb Smith, if you really want to come down and pay, save some money and are really interested in bats, I think Caleb Smith is low price, lowest price I'm willing to go. And he stands out. Everything in between is kind of up in the air. Quintana likely will be on a pitch count. So for a couple thousand bucks more, I'm not interested in that. Some of these other guys just don't stand out to me as really anything. So Blake Snell, the Mets are just, I do like Blake Snell. I think he's a great pitcher, his elite upside with his K percentage, but the Mets are not too bad versus lefties. So it's Valdez primarily for me, and then coming way down here to Caleb Smith, potentially for a lineup or two. Let's talk stacks though. So let's bump back over to Daily Fantasy Nerd. I talked about some of these favorite or high run projected teams. I do really like Atlanta here. I think that stands out. It's matching what I'm predicting against the pitcher they're facing. But I also like a couple other random teams, most notably the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, anytime they're going to go lower owned, which I think today's the case, they're worth taking a look at. They're pitching, or they're playing at home against Montas, a guy that does not have good numbers right now, and is a guy that's worth attacking. And I also like Baltimore. I think Baltimore is looking sneaky tonight at 4.8 total, playing in Boston. Atlanta, of course, playing Miami. So let's go back here to to FanDuel. Let's throw Valdez. We'll build a lineup as we go. We'll see how this plays out. You can see he does knock you down to $3,000. But as I mentioned, in terms of guys I want to attack, starting with Atlanta as a stack in general, if I could find them. Jose Urena, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. 6 ERA, has not pitched well, has not gotten a win yet, only pitched a couple of times, 3 times so far this season. Each of those starts, basically in 3 starts, he's given up, 10 earned runs. So a guy that's definitely worth attacking. I do want to mention his numbers though. So he's a 400 WOBA over the last year. So I'm not even talking about just 2020. I'm going back, I'm pulling out a decent number of innings here. 400 WOBA to lefties. Has also a 572 xFIP to lefties. Urena has a 12% strikeout rate to lefties. That's only 20% to righties. He is a right-handed pitcher, of course, so a really low K guy. And then his home runs per 9 to lefties is 2.09. So he's definitely a guy you can and should attack with left-handed bats. That Atlanta team is loaded with some lefties, especially your Freeman. So get a hold of those. I like attacking this guy in general. I think he stands out as one of the worst, if not the worst, pitchers on the slate, and that's why Atlanta is projected so high. Now coming back over to Fangraphs here, coming down to some of his other numbers, you can see here, if I could accurately navigate, getting hit very hard in 2020. This is Urena again, 45% hard hit rate. If you guys remember back to some other videos, that's one of the highest I've seen so far. Only has pitched, again, 3 games, so not a ton of numbers, but you can see has not pitched well in the last couple of years. His barrel rate is relatively, I wouldn't say low, it's average, but nonetheless still getting hit very hard. So I really want to come at him with a lot of these Atlanta bats. And if we bounce into the lineup optimizer here, the lineup has now come out for Atlanta, so we can refresh the page here. You guys can see live action here of these lineups coming out, and then we can adjust to which bats we're most interested in. But obviously leading off, this guy Acuna here, tons of power. Freeman, the lefty. Other Albies should be a switch hitter, obviously, as Markakis. Some of these lefties stand out and give you some salary relief, especially Markakis. This will be an expensive stack, so that's why I gave you guys that backup pitcher. But all these guys in play, I would stack this up, down, left, right. As I said in other videos, the Atlanta Braves are a great position tonight against Jose Urena. So I'm going to throw, just for sake of this right now, Freddy Freeman into our lineups here, just because he's one of my favorite bats. So moving on to another stack, I want to talk about Baltimore. So let's talk about a value stack here. Baltimore in a great spot also tonight. If we navigate to the right pitcher here, they're playing on the road in Boston. Always like to take road teams. They're playing Nick Pivetta, however you pronounce it. This guy used to pitch very well, but he is a balloon ERA this year, 15.88. Has not pitched a ton. Again, a guy that has 3 games under his belt, has a negative 17-point game, gave up 6 earned, didn't even make it out of the first inning versus Atlanta, a team we're stacking tonight, by the way. But this guy, I think he's a guy he's worth attacking here. Read you some of his numbers again. 374 WOBA to lefties, 367 to righties, so gets hit both by lefties and righties here. Has an xFIP of over 5 to lefties. Really bad number there. His K percentage is 19% to lefties. It's just above 20 to righties, so not very good in terms of missing bats. Home runs per 9, 2.28 to lefties there. It's 1.90 to righties, so gives up a ton of home runs too. All good things, all reasons you want to stack a team against him. Bouncing over to some of the more advanced metrics here again, talking about Pivetta, 39% so far in 2020 in terms of a hard hit rate, barreling him up at 13%. Even if you want to say it's only been a couple of games, okay, we'll go back to 2019, 35% hard hit rate, 9% barrel rate, all really bad numbers. And he's playing in Boston, a place that just gives up long balls or you hit the green monster. All good things here in terms of a team or a guy you want to stack against, and Baltimore offers you a ton of value. Most of their guys hover at 3,000 or are below, but again, stack left, stack right, stack up, stack down. Find a way to fit these guys in. Some of the bats that stand out, Nunez is one of their better bats. If you can get a lefty, Cisco here, a catcher, probably not the most interesting bat. Maybe we'll be hitting 4th, but somebody to consider. I do like Baltimore generally as a stack tonight. I think they are in a good spot and offer a value stack for a lot of salary relief if you're going with like a Valdez as a pitcher. Last but not least here, I do want to talk about the LA Dodgers. They're in a great spot against Frankie Montas tonight. So if we find his name here, where are you? Here we go. Right-hander for Oakland, pitching on the road against the Dodgers. Dodgers are an elite team versus right-handers. We know this. It's been the case all season. We use them when we can. Again, another expensive stack, so you're going to have to find your way, navigate your way through some of those high-priced guys. 5.86 for Montas this season, though. 3 wins. Certainly not having a great season. Has had some decent performances earlier in the year against bad teams, but generally when he faces a good team, he struggles. And you can see here 4 earned, 5 earned, 9 earned. Some of those teams aren't even that great, but certainly a guy I do want to stack against. Talking advanced metrics here over on Fangraphs. Hard hit rate this year, 32%. Actually, it's below what he's normally done, which is approaching 40% at times. Really bad numbers. 7% barrel rate, so we'd like to see that 7, 8, 9% or higher. So fits right into a guy I'm willing to stack against. And again, the Dodgers are going to be expensive. We don't have a lineup out for them yet, so check that. Corey Seager stands out to me. Justin Turner offers value at $3,000. Max Muncy, $3,600. Obviously, you're going to have to spend up for your Betts and your Bellingers. Nearly $4,000 for him, $46,000 for Betts. All your lefties in play here, though. I do really like the lefties versus him. He does struggle in general more versus lefties, but I'm willing to stack these Dodgers left, right, up, down, just like I said with all the other stacks. Great spot for the Dodgers tonight, and I do like them generally as a stack. And last but not least here, if you're looking for another value stack, I don't know how much exposure I will get to this, but Homer Bailey, I talked about one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. Homer Bailey is one of my favorite pitchers to stack against, has been for like the last 5 years. Dude gives up a lot of home runs, a lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls, all the numbers you want for a stack. The downside is he's pitching at home and he's playing Detroit. Detroit is not necessarily the best team versus righties, though I do think you can pull certain bats out of that Detroit lineup to stack against him. But they're kind of my fourth maybe stack. Somebody to consider stacking against definitely is Homer Bailey. So that's really it for stacks. As I mentioned, really looking at two pitchers here, Valdez, and then coming down to Kayla Smith. In terms of stacks, you want to get Atlanta, Baltimore, and Dodgers, with Baltimore being your value. If you want to go really crazy, you really want to save some money, you can go Detroit versus Homer Bailey as another value stack, bonus stack there, although it's not my favorite. Let's talk some individual bats. I won't spend too much more time here. Hopefully you guys find these videos, as always, very useful. I want to talk some value here. Again, a lot of this stuff is not out yet. We're still waiting lineups, but a lot of these guys for Arizona continuously show up as value. I'm never interested in stacking them wholly, but they are projected a ton of runs tonight, 5.16. So naturally, a guy like Rojas leading off or Van Meter possibly hitting second. These guys are both second basemen. I believe the entire Arizona lineup is consists of second basemen. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. But these guys are $2,100, $2,200. I mention them because those guys help you fit more expensive stacks into your lineup, more expensive pitchers, all that good stuff. I do really like JD Martinez. He's $3,300 versus a lefty. Played him the other day versus a lefty. It's the first time in a long time that I remember him struggling versus a lefty, but he does. I mean, every time he hits a long ball, it seems to be against a lefty. Love JD Martinez at $3,300 versus a lefty here. Does really stand out to me. Peralta here, $2,800, another Arizona bat, one of their more regular, more power hitting, I would say more powerful bats. An outfielder, $2,800 for Peralta does stand out. Of course, anybody in those stacks, whether it's the Dodgers, Atlanta, Baltimore, or Detroit, those guys do stand out to me. I mentioned Freeman, I mentioned Seager, do really like those guys. I also like Cruz. So Cruz and JD Martinez, always guys that you want to stack or put up against as individual bats, even against lefties here. I do really like that. I'm not sure. The Screwball has given up one home run to Nelson Cruz so far this year. Again, something you like to see. So good things there. But that really kind of caps it off. Hopefully, again, these videos are helpful for you guys. You guys can see some of the pricing. You guys can see some of the interest that we have at stacks, at pitcher, all that stuff. Hopefully these videos are helpful for you guys. I appreciate you guys, as always, tuning into these Slurve videos where we quickly on FanDuel cover my favorite plays for the night slate. We're talking 7:05 main slate, 11-12 games on the slate tonight. I actually forget the number there. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, share these videos, give them a thumbs up, leave me some comments. I'd love to interact with you guys. Let me know how the season's gone. I'm really interested. Outside of that, make sure you check out the NFL content. Just published a video, a sneak peek video earlier today, so make sure you click on that, check that out. And moving on from that, good luck tonight, and I will catch you in the next video.